After a lifetime of cleaning up every mess, my family gave everything to my sister who walked in after years away. I gently placed the keys and documents down. Congratulations, Maya. Mom beamed. She's our hope. But when Maya opened my letter, she went pale. Tell me this is a joke. I always knew my family didn't really see me. Not the real me, at least, to them. I wasn't a daughter. I was the glue that kept the cracks from breaking us apart, the silent fixer. The one who didn't complain, the one who always stepped in, for 10 long years. I had been the one who held everything together, the business, the house, the debts, the emergencies, the never-ending crises. Every time the phone rang at AM, it was me who answered. Every time a supplier threatened to pull out, it was me who drove across the city to fix it. Every time the family was falling apart, I stitched the pieces back together. My parents called me responsible, but it wasn't a compliment. It was a label, a duty, a chain. And then Maya came back. My little sister, the golden child, whose footsteps my parents worshipped. She'd left home 6 years ago after a dramatic argument, screaming that she was done with us, slamming the door, and disappearing without looking back. We didn't hear from her for years. Not even once. Birthdays? Ignored. Dad's heart attack. Not even a text. Mom's surgery? She didn't pick up a single call. We begged her to visit, but she acted like we didn't exist until last week, when she suddenly arrived with glittering eyes, expensive luggage, and a rehearsed apology wrapped in sugary words. I missed you guys so much, she said, hugging everyone like nothing had happened. I should have known something was off. No one changes that fast. But I still wasn't prepared for what happened next. The family meeting happened the next morning. It was strange enough that Dad called when his serious voice was only reserved for business emergencies. I expected something about finances, maybe supplier trouble, maybe even bankruptcy. Instead, Dad cleared his throat and said the words that stabbed deeper than any betrayal I had imagined. Maya will be taking over the company. I froze. At first, I thought I misheard him, but Mom quickly added, she's young, energetic, and she has modern ideas. It's time to let her grow. Let her grow? While I spent 10 years sacrificing my own life for theirs, my chest tightened. I stared at them, hoping it was a twisted joke, but Maya smiled like a queen being crowned. Don't worry, sis, she said sweetly. I'll take good care of things. It was like something inside me cracked quietly, painfully. I had held this family afloat while she lived her life without a single responsibility. And now she walked in and claimed everything without lifting a finger. But I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice, didn't question their loyalty. I simply stood up, walked to Dad's desk, picked up the power of attorney documents, the same papers I had signed countless times to handle family matters, and placed them neatly in front of Maya. I added the house keys on top. Congratulations, Maya, I said, my voice calm and steady, but my heart burning. Mom beamed, proud and blind. She's our hope. Maya reached for the papers like someone accepting a trophy. Her smirk widened as she flipped through them, but then I slid a white envelope across the table. Before I go, I said softly, please read this. Maya frowned slightly, tearing it open. At first her expression didn't change. Then her brow furrowed. Then her eyes widened. The smirk vanished. Her face twisted from confusion to fear to pure horror. Her lips trembled. Her hands shook. She went completely pale. And then she whispered, voice breaking, tell me this is a joke. Mom looked worried for the first time. Dad leaned forward, confused. But I simply stepped back. Because that envelope contained the truth I had been hiding. The truth they were about to drown in. What was inside that letter? That's where the real story begins. While my parents celebrated Maya's return, I had been quietly preparing my exit. And Maya had just realized what it truly meant. When Maya looked up from the letter, her eyes were wild, like she had just seen the ground disappear beneath her. What have you done? She whispered, voice cracking. I leaned back, crossing my arms calmly. Everything I warned you about. Everything you all ignored. Her fingers tightened around the papers as if holding them harder would stop the truth from bleeding through. 3 months earlier. The downfall didn't happen overnight. It began long before Maya decided to return. Long before my parents chose their golden child over the daughter who held their world together. It began when I realized that no one would ever protect me, so I'd have to protect myself. I met with attorneys, auditors, and financial advisors quietly, privately, behind closed doors and encrypted emails. After years of being the only one with access to company documents, I knew exactly where to look: old contracts, unpaid invoices, overdue taxes, supplier warnings, government notices, and the debts my parents pretended didn't exist. What I found was worse than I expected. The business wasn't healthy. It wasn't struggling. It was rotting from the inside. A slow collapse masked by my hard work. Every late night I stayed fixing numbers. Every secret meeting I took to renegotiate contracts. Every emergency payment I made without telling them. It had all been keeping the company barely alive. Without me, the entire structure was ready to crumble. Suppliers were already drafting termination letters. Clients had complaints they hadn't voiced yet. The bank was monitoring inconsistencies, and the regulatory authority had a file thick enough to make any owner faint. All the warning signs were there. My parents just never bothered to look. The envelope, everything. I discovered every danger, every deadline, every unpaid fine I placed in that envelope. The same envelope Maya now held with trembling hands. Dad snatched the documents from her, flipping through page after page, his face drained of color. These numbers, these deadlines, why didn't you tell us? He choked out. I almost laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. I did tell you, I said, for years. But you said I was exaggerating. Dad, you called me dramatic. Mom told me to stop worrying so much. Mom's lips parted as she whispered, "What happens now?" I shrugged lightly. Now? It's Maya's responsibility. She's the one you trusted with everything. Maya's breathing turned sharp. No, you can't leave all this on me. You can't just walk away. You didn't mind taking the credit, I replied softly. This is the rest of it. The part you never saw, because I always cleaned it up. Her face twisted with panic. The pleading for the first time in my life. They begged. Dad tried to apologize, stumbling over words he should have said years ago. Mom cried, gripping my arm like a lifeline. Maya offered to share responsibility, her voice shaking with desperation. But I was done. Done cleaning their messes, done being the invisible backbone of a family that only noticed me when they needed something. That night, I packed my bags calm, steady, unhurried. Everything I had saved, every investment, every emergency fund, I had already secured in my own name months before. And then came the final twist. The house keys I placed on the table, they weren't a surrender. They were a reveal. Because months earlier, through a quiet legal process, the house had been transferred to me. Signed, filed, confirmed. I had simply handed them the keys to a house they no longer legally owned. The truth hit hours later. Their panicked call to the registry office confirmed it. Their frantic messages filled my phone. Mom sobbing, Dad pleading, Maya trying to sound brave but clearly breaking. I blocked them all. 2 weeks later, life in my new apartment felt like breathing after drowning. No responsibilities, no burdens, no expectations, just peace. Then one evening, a single message slipped through from Maya's backup account. I understand now why you left. I'm sorry. I hope you find happiness far away from us. I read it once, then closed the screen. I walked out onto my balcony, feeling the city breeze brush against my skin, light, free, alive. For the first time in years, I smiled, because sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming, fighting, or proving your worth. Sometimes, the best revenge is walking away and letting them drown in the problems they created when they pushed away the only person who ever held them together.